What's up, everybody? My name is Galston Anthony, the best to ever do it. And yes, I am in Uganda. As you know, I fly all around the world, and this time I'm in Africa, and I'm going to talk to people that are very, very compelling. Now, the guest that I have today, I'm going to challenge him through and through. No, I do not have an agenda of some sort, but you understand, in this podcast, I have to challenge for the sake of being impartial. Our guest today is a president. Yep. But before he became a president, he was a bad man with baddies around him, a rapper, an artist, somebody who brought music together, and somehow he got into activism. Yes, I'm talking about Mr. Ugandan People's President of the Ghetto, Bobi Wine. What's up? How you doing?
Nice to have you.
Good to have you, man. Good to have you.
Great.
You know, I landed yesterday into Uganda, and I was just so mad because Uganda needs a visa for an African passport.
Yeah.
Why is that the case?
Well, the leadership, bad policies, that can change by a stroke of a pen.
Okay, I guess we're going to get into that a little bit later. But what is happening with all the visa money? Because I'm not quite seeing it going to work.
It's not just the visa money. Various tax sources. I mean, that's one way of taxation. There are many others. Yeah. So there's lots of money, not only the visa money. There's lots of money that goes to waste.
I can understand that, but as somebody who hasn't, I've been to Uganda twice, and in both times I've been like less than 24 hours. So you're like, okay, you got a visa. What is it they're protecting, or what is it they're building with the money? And I don't see
I don't think it's a making of we the Africans. I think we're still stuck in a colonial mentality, and our leaders are perpetuating the same, because having to get a visa to visit another African country is a clear way of intended separation and intended division of our people.
It's haram.
Unfortunately,
It's haram.
it is happening.
But let's talk on the good side. You know, the first thing you do when you land into Entebbe airport, it's the greenest airport I've seen in the world. The greenest by far. When God said this, when people said this is God's green earth, they were talking about Uganda. It's green as hell. It's
It's
beautiful.
a part of Africa.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. So that I appreciate, you know, when landing is like, wow, that's a breath of fresh air. You know, you don't have this city, you know, life around you. You actually just have nature the moment you land. So compliments to Uganda for that.
Thanks. Could even be better. It shouldn't be wild nature. It should be beautified nature, modernized nature.
Yeah.
But that we'll get there when we finally take charge.
So obviously we're just speaking about the little things before we get into deep. And one of the few things I'm learning about Uganda is gold, right? So it seems there's a lot of gold, legal and illegal, busy going around. Like, when did that happen? Why did it happen? Because I don't think that was there like 10 years ago, was it?
Well, we've always had gold, only that recently the biggest deposit in the world was discovered here in Uganda. So we've always had gold. We still have it. The illicit and immoral and illegal trade of the same, you know, was happening, but it's now more official because it's the first family that trades in gold, which is wrong, of course. But I mean, I like that we have the gold. It won't get finished very soon. It's one of the resources that are going to be used to make this country even better.
Right. But it seems that the gold trade business, as far as I'm concerned, is like a very dangerous one, because you got to make sure that you talk to the right people or something goes wrong. Like,
it is dangerous because it's owned up by a single family. It's owned up by those in power. That's why it gets dangerous.
let's get into it. I saw your podcast in South Africa with Caesar and Puffer Walsh. By the way, please go watch that. It will give a lot of context to what we're talking about. I pretty much enjoyed it because you were telling the story about, you know, you being a music artist to how you became an activist and, you know, your opinions on certain leaders. So we're going to touch on some of them here and there. I wanted to start with, do you still got bars?
Oh, yeah, I still do music, though it's banned here. You know, I cannot stage a concert or even have my music played on radio or TV. But I still do music, and it still gets there, thanks to the internet.
And your family background, when I heard his podcast, you said to him that you can't quite credit your family, you know, for you being an activist today. But then when I hear it, it seems like a generation line of, you know, activism that has happened. For example, your dad was an activist. Your granddad passed away in a war. and then you were a music artist.
And then many of my elder brothers, siblings, brothers and sisters were activists here.
Don't you think that's their credit because they gene that gene is always going to be there?
I credit it to the genes, but I'm a product of so many hands, those in my family and very many outside my family. So I have to credit them too. I have to be realistic.
The thing is, I'm like very persistent on the idea that although you were very, very young and a lot of things was happening, you were watching unknowingly and you were learning, and it just needed that trigger to switch you into activism mode, and not just the part where you spoke about, getting smacked up in the club, please watch that video. You got smacked up in the club and that hit you that day. I think it was there just waiting to be activated.
It was there. Not to throw shade at my family, but I'll tell you that I grew up with my mother, and my mother had the greatest influence on me. But among the many things she warned me against was politics, because politics was the reason that my family found itself in the gutter that I grew up in. So yes, on the contrary, my mother had always been warning me against politics and encouraging me to work so hard, because a man gets lifted up by the work of his hands. And that happened. However, like I said in that podcast, the gene came haunting me.
Yeah, it came haunting you. Okay. You're now an activist. Tell me about Uganda as somebody who's not Ugandan and might not know much about it. Is it an authoritarian state?
I'll first start with the good things. Uganda is very beautiful, extremely beautiful, extremely rich, with the most amazing people. About how it's governed, it's, I think now beyond an authoritarian state, it's a kleptocracy, ruled by a brutal military dictator for the last 40 years and counting. He intends to run again to extend his 40-year rule to 45, 50, and whenever he goes away. So yes, it's a brutal dictatorship.
But one man that runs, he's 89 this year. I mean,
not 89. He's over 80, just slightly over 80.
I mean, as far as I see, he's been there just before World War World War II. He's been there for so long. Does he not realize he's actually old?
Well, that's his question, not mine. But I mean, they always say that quote that absolute power corrupts. Maybe he got corrupt by power. But again, there's this crazy joke that people make. I hope it's not offensive. That when you're dead, you don't get to know, only the people around you. Same thing when you're stupid.
Because I'm trying to understand here, and I understand we're not talking about him, we're talking about you. But I'm trying to understand the psyche of the country as a whole. The man is, we use the theory that you're using, the man is absolutely corrupted now. He's kleptocratic, authoritarian, iron-fisted. If anything happens, he's the last word. He's the first and the last word. Does he not get to a place where he's like, I'm looking at my people, and these people are suffering?
Bro, you're asking that question to the wrong guy. I ask myself the same question. And I'm sure everybody pretty much asks themselves the same question, because this guy was once very eloquently speaking against the things that he's doing. So it baffles me, and I believe everybody else, to see him turning around and becoming the same person that is so loathed in the past.
What do you think is going to happen when he loses power?
Anarchy. It's already happening. I mean, it's clear he's trying to groom his son to take over. He's pretty much handed all power to him. His son is the chief of defense forces, and, instruments of power that make him more or less the commander-in-chief have been signed to him. So it is a very horrifying situation. It's a very horrifying period that our country is going through. That's why we are very focused in awakening people to avert it before it's irreversible.
So from the way I'm understanding you describing this, the president is seeing it as the country as a private property that he's just going to hand down to his children.
Absolutely.
And say, do what you need to do.
He has said that he refers to the national resources as his own. My oil, my gold, my everything. And so does his son. His son treats the country and speaks. You should read his tweets every 2 a.m. in the morning. He'll have a thread of tweets, among them regarding Uganda as his inheritors. So that's exactly where we are. Reading the tweets of his son and watching the acts of the father tells you everything you need to know.
I want to take you back to that journey that you spoke about when you was at the club and you used to watch people getting smacked up from time to time. You weren't affected because you were a star.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then next thing, you know, you get smacked up a little bit and you have a gun pointed to your face and that switch turns on. And you decided to be an activist. Along the way, you did a lot of activism to a point that it was not going to be the last time you had a gun pointed at your face or even a bullet flying your way. You come to the office every day or every other day. Do you not think that every step you take could be your last one?
I know that, but that's not just me. That's everybody else in this country, even those who don't know it, you know? Yes, at least I'm aware, I'm alive to the fact that every day might be my last because I'm targeted by the regime. But even those that are not doing what I'm doing, I mean, on the 18th and 19th of November 2020, more than 150 innocent people were massacred on the street when a few of our supporters protested my illegal arrest. Majority of those people were apolitical. They were not involved in any political activism. The same happened. But even those that are not shot with guns, imagine an accident happening and the hospitals are empty because the health workers are not paid and there are no medicines and the power is off when a woman is taken to labor. So everybody's day could be the last. None of us is safe.
I hear you.
I
hear you that you bringing it out to everybody else, right? And I understand that. But let's speak about specifically you, because you are hot property right now, probably the hottest property inside Uganda. Some of your family members or some of your friends have lost their lives. Now, I'm going to just put myself in your shoes for a second, right? It takes bravery to be who you are. But if I see somebody that I love goes as they were trying to target me, I'd be scared not only for my life, but for the others. Your activism, do you not feel that you're putting those people that might be innocent in the line of fire?
Yeah, I know, and that's true. This shit is dangerous, but somebody's got to do it anyway. You know, it's true. Every time I leave my home, my children, you know, especially my youngest daughter, will hug me and make me promise that I will come back in one piece. And I do promise. But the reality out there is that we're living in a dangerous world and we've got to do what we've got to do.
But if you're going to do what you have to do, and the head of the military is the president's son, you're living on borrowed time, right? And if Bobi Wine disappears, who else is going to hold that torch? How many people are going to die? You know why I'm asking that question? I ask that question because it's probably something you thought of a lot, and it's not easy to answer, right? But the Ugandan people stand behind you. They understand what's happening to the authoritarian state. They don't like it, right? But I wouldn't say it's depopulating, but the massacre is really, really sad. How are you going to handle that? Like, how do you handle that? Because mentally it must beat you.
Yeah, you said it takes a lot of bravery. I appreciate the compliment, but I don't think it's bravery. I think it's desperacy. We do this, I get involved in this because there's no alternative. I'll tell you, my brother, I want to live. I don't want to just exist. You know, I want to live and with full dignity. And if that takes a fight, I'll put up that fight, you know. Yes, I know I'll be safer if I shut my mouth and sit back in my house and let things roll and maybe play along. But in the long run, it will take away even
a part of your soul.
A part of my soul, you know. I always like to remind myself of words of great people that have lived before us. Somebody said, I think that was Martin Luther King, that we begin to die inside when we keep quiet about things that matter. This misery, if I don't do anything to stop it, I'll be just sending it down to my posterity, my children, to go through the same. And I don't see that coming out of me. And yet I love my children. I'm sure everybody loves their children. I'm sure all the people that I do this thing with, that I take risks with, they want better. And we all agree that it is worth the risk.
It's a deep answer. But here's a further question. You don't have grandkids yet, meaning your bloodline can't be cut out. God forbid. If Bobi Wine is gone tomorrow, is the nation prepared to continue with the courage that Bobi Wine is going with?
I remind you that Mandela did not have grandchildren and he got involved in the anti-apartheid struggle. Neither did Steve Biko. Neither did all those people. None of them had grandchildren. Some didn't even have children. As a matter of fact, I got politically involved. At 35, I was much older than any of those great people that gave their contribution. So it's not about my satisfaction. And I must also mention that it's not about me, It's only around 6-7 years ago that I threw in my heart into politics. There's so many people that had dared to challenge this dictatorship. Many of them are dead. Many are in prison, like Dr. Besigye, and others are maimed. So it has never been about me, and it will never be about me. It did not start with me, and it will not stop with me. But just that I am here, and I feel responsible, and I feel the need and urge to lead my generation. I want to put my humble contribution so that if I'm lucky to grow old, I don't look down when my children or grandchildren ask me what I did when the nation came to this.
Paint me the picture of that moment where you knew this was it, the assassination attempts, because there were multiple. But just paint me that one time that you were like, wow.
It's twofold, yeah? First, when I knew that the stuff is really getting hot, is when we got raided in the parliament. When General Museveni and the regime were trying to change the constitution to remove the term limit so he could rule forever. The military, the special forces, got into parliament and beat up everybody. We put up a physical fight, but eventually were overpowered and, dragged out of the parliament. It got hotter, and the following 2 days, bombs were thrown at our homes, my home and about 2 or 3 other homes of the legislators who were so vocal against the amendment of the constitution. So that made me feel insecure, but it was still in a group, right? So, a threat that comes to you as a group is not as hitting as a threat
as
that
an
comes
individual,
to you
yeah.
as an individual. But when it got personal was when we got attacked in Arua. My driver was shot and killed in my car. When I just stepped out, I knew that, okay, now this is really, really serious. I got abducted, tortured so bad.
Tell me about this torture. I mean, you're getting tortured. You see, when I'm listening to your story, it is rather traumatizing. It's just, you just sit and you listen to it. It's like, okay, I got tortured. It's like, okay, what did they do and how did they torture? Because we got to understand here, it's not like a couple of guys in the street and just whipping your ass and be like, shut up, stop talking. They go through terrible things. Like, could you just give us a picture of that torturing?
Well, it started from after my driver was shot and I disappeared into a hotel room, and every single hotel door was broken by the military looking for me. They looked for me the entire night and could not find me. They found me the following morning. Beat me so bad from the room that I was, then wrapped me up in a blanket and took me to a military van. The next destination was a military barracks, 4th Division, a military barracks in Gulu. And there I went
Sorry, please just take me back. So they wrapped you up. I'm guessing you were like beaten to the pulp.
Yeah, they beat me to pulp. I lost half of my conscience because I fell down. I couldn't carry myself. But somehow my mind was still not completely. Yeah, was still functioning.
Now, please, there's a little bit of a thing going on there. It's like, okay, you've been beaten to a pulp. Why didn't they kill you at that moment? Because they could.
That's their question. There were many. They were armed. They were strong. I was all beat up. Why didn't they kill me? You know. So they wrapped me up, took me to a military barracks, and then by the time we got there, I had gained my conscience once again, and then my consciousness. And then the torture began once more. It included so many things: electrocutions, the beatings with wires, the pressing of wrong places. It was terrible. I don't want to go.
So they electrocuted you over and over. I've been electrocuted accidentally, in my own house, trying to be an electrician. I should have left that to my father because he's an electrician. I know what it means to be electrocuted. And you probably got hit by that over and over. Then you say squeeze in the wrong places. Are you talking about man places?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they did that over and over and over. And you still found the resilience to live through the torture. What is going on in your head? Because there's a lot of pain at that point. How are you surviving all of this?
I did not think I would get out alive, honestly. But I made the personal resolve when I was there. I said, okay, I'm going to die, but these idiots are not going to get the satisfaction of my surrender. So I won't surrender. That's what was in my mind. I didn't know what was happening until about 4 or 5 days later, when I had already been taken to a military court with nobody there, and I was taken to a military prison. I had been airlifted in a helicopter from Gulu, halfway across the country to the capital state, to the main military prison in Makindye. So I was there. I didn't know what was going on until one day I saw my door open. I saw about 8 or 9 ambassadors that had come. They came with my wife and my lawyer and my brother. And when I saw them, it was horrifying. Everybody was crying, apart from my wife. I shed a tear too, and she hugged me and said, "Yo, don't cry." She sounded like possessed. She sounded so strong. She said, "Don't cry. Let everybody else cry, but don't cry. I'm also not going to cry. Listen, I'm in." Remember, my wife and I had always been arguing. She had always been discouraging me from this, what she called radical politics. Why are you taking on this guy? Don't you see this guy is dangerous? He's going to destroy our businesses. They're going to destroy us. He's going to kill you. Why do you want to do this to us? And I'd always been telling my wife, yo, I have to do what I have to do. So this time around, she's the one telling me I'm in now. When she briefed me, she told me, be strong. But the country is burning outside. People are demanding for you. Don't give up. If there's anything that you had thought of surrendering, please know the people are with you. Now a brand new phase of energy came to me, and I got strong. And indeed, the day I got out of prison, again, they had flown me back to Gulu. Now this is about 4 or even 5 hours away. So the day I was released, people stood on the roadside for more than 400 kilometers as we drove. They were waving on the street. Now I knew that, the pain was worth it. The suffering was worth it. I was emboldened once more. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like legacy in the making, right? A man goes through all that, But there's a testimony there that I want to speak about. Is that your wife discourage you, don't do this. I'd rather have you alive. I'd rather have you, just be a mere man next to me instead of being this hero to the nation. And that moment she spoke life into you.
Yeah.
How did you find this wife? Because we need to find some more of those women.
How did she find me?
How did you find
How
you?
did
You know what?
we
Go ahead.
find
Tell
each
me the
other?
story. Tell me the
You
story.
see, my wife and I, we are very unlikely partners. We met at the National Theatre. I was an actor. I was in my final year at university. I was studying music, dance, and drama. And I'd been picked to act in a play. Guess what the play was called? Lady, Will You Marry Me? What were the characters?
Yeah.
President and First Lady. I was cast to
Your
act
life
as
is
president.
scripted, bro.
Yeah.
Your life is scripted.
I was cast to act as president. She was act to act as First Lady. So we meet. The head of the drama department at the university picked me. And she had known my wife from her visiting to schools in the countryside. And she had been the best actress in her school. So she was handpicked and we met at the National Theatre. Initially, we were not even friends. I didn't even like her because she was talking too much, that Jesus business and all that.
Yeah.
And I was a bad boy from the ghetto.
Yeah. Man, this is the dreaded version of you, right?
Exactly.
The saggy pants.
Exactly. So that stark difference somehow struck a chord. And over time, we became close friends, best friends. Before she knew, we were in love. I cannot honestly say any of us started it, but I'll say I took the initiative because I loved more. Yeah.
This sounds like fate. I'm not even the person that believes in fate here, but the way, the story is being narrated is like y'all were meant to be together to do this run.
I believe we were.
You were, right?
Were. You know why I think we were even meant to be together to do this? She comes from the birthplace of General Museveni. And I come from the central. And somehow there was a stereotype of these two tribes not working together.
Right.
And here we are. She brings that region with her, and I bring this region to us, with me. And our union shows the future of a nation coming together. Imagine a nation where white and black people have so much hate together, but these leaders come from these two worlds and come together as if to birth a new nation.
Speaking about coming together as a nation, your party is called Unite. It's called NUP.
Yeah,
right?
National
Unity Party. So platform, not party. Please excuse me, President,
No, that please.
for this level of disrespect. All right.
Feel free, bro.
So why do you feel that unity is important in this regard, and how do you picture this unity happening?
Unity is the most important thing that we need in this our generation, because we live in a deeply, deeply divided country. This unity has actually been used as a weapon. Tribal disunity, religious disunity, and class disunity, to the extent that tribes hated each other, or they hate each other, because those that rule over us, that's the way they can, control us. Picking just one person from this tribe, rewarding them, and making them rich and wealthy, and therefore have them control the population of that ethnicity, etc. We are divided as a nation, and yet the new generation is united by their pains and their aspirations. We live in a generation where we have intermarried from different tribes, where we have discovered the magic of diversity. And many of the young people in my generation and below actually prefer to marry outside their ethnicities, to enjoy that. And even my own marriage, and this is not to brag, but I believe has given an example of the beauty that comes from diversity.
So just to break that down to me, because as a non-Ugandan, what tribe are you and what
I'm a Muganda. I'm a Muganda, and this is the most populous tribe.
And then your wife?
And, my wife is a Munyankole.
Munyankole.
That's from Western Uganda. Yeah. Buganda is in the central. Ankole is in the west. And then there's the north and the east. So, but we are more than 50 tribes in
Wow.
Uganda. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It's not like South Africa with like 9, 10 tribes.
You need to get
You need to
notes
get
from
more.
us. Yeah.
Pan-Africanism is a word that has been used loosely. If Africa had to unite, do you think it could compete with the West? And if so, how so?
Pan-Africanism is the most beautiful idea. But again, I must say it's the most abused idea. Today, Pan-Africanism is looking out for which dictator speaks worst about the West, not which person does the best for their people. Sometimes Pan-Africanism might mean relating with other continents and other races for the benefit of Africans, not trading African freedom for them. So you'll find that most, if not all, African dictators, whenever they are questioned and challenged about democracy and the abuse of human rights, then they'll bring the foreign agent card. Africa should definitely unite. I don't believe in these borders. I don't believe in this unity.
And get rid of that visa that I had to pay $50
exactly.
for to come here.
Why should it be hard for an African to do business with an African country? It disturbs me that foreigners find it more easier here in Africa. It is easier for European to traverse Africa than an African. So that needs to be worked out.
But let's speak about it on a ground level now, as opposed to like a national government level. Black people are always against each other. I'm a black man
I'm sorry,
from the South.
say that again.
Black people are always fighting against each other all the time. They find
I don't
reasons.
agree with you. White people fight against each other.
Yeah, they do.
But the people in Ukraine and Russia are not black. The people in...
I like that point. But the reason why I want to bring that is that although, yes, people are fighting on each other, we've got histories of the Asian people fighting each other, Chinese and Japanese and so much more. But we live in this continent where a majority of us are black. And somewhere in our head, it's wired in us to just keep fighting each other. And you don't hear...
I disagree with you, actually, because if you look beneath it, most of these wars are not instigated by Africans, and they're not for the benefit of Africans, only for the sufferation of Africans. You'll find that it is our wealth that is causing most of the sufferation and the poverty. There's a book that I co-authored with Dr. Greg Mills. It's called Expensive Poverty. I'll give you a copy. When you look at it, it's our wealth that is causing this. And very, very, very unfortunately, our greedy leaders. So it is not in our DNA to fight or kill each other. When you look back in history, that was not our way of doing things. Not that people don't fight. Of course, communities and nations fight, but it should not be made our identity that we fight each other as Africans. No. Ubuntu is African. Yeah.
As much as Ubuntu is African, so there's a slight departure over there where I do agree that it's not in our nature to fight each other, yet we are. How can we stop fighting each other? Because here I am, I'm Galston, there's Bobi Wine, and the first thing's like, I don't like the suit he's wearing. Where does he think he is? Who does he think is? And I just want to find a way to destroy you. How can we deracinate that internal hate that we have for each other?
There's so much we can do, but like they say, it all rises and falls with leadership. What our leaderships guide us to is exactly what we're going to do. If it's love, if it's self-upliftment, that's what we're going to do. But again, if it's division and war, that's exactly what we're going to do. We need to realize our worth. We need to realize that we're just as good as other people, you know. And when we realize that, then we'll make a decision whether to go past that or not. I mean, reading far back history, Africa's ever been great. Africa's ever ruled the world. How did we lose that? Let us go and retrace our steps and see how we lost that. You actually ask if Africa can be great, if Africa can compete with the rest of the world. And yes, we can, if we unite in purpose. There's always going to be reasons for disunity, but we have more reason to unite than disunite.
How can you and I unite right now? How do you suggest we do that as an example to everybody else watching?
First, by realizing that we have more in common than in difference. than different.
Educate
I mean,
me.
we
What do we have
are
in common?
hated mainly because of our greatness. Now that
I know how you great. How am I great?
you are great because you're a son of the most wealthy place on this planet, and that is Africa. And if we re-educate each other and see that our wealth is more beneficial when it helps us than using it against each other, it's going to help us. Africa is so rich that when we unite, bargain together, and benefit together, it's going to help us. I mean, the Europeans
give me more pragmatic example, because I'll give you this, that you allowed me to come all the way to Uganda, to sit down with you, to have this interview with you, that there's an open opportunity to me. That's a collaboration. That's a combination that can make both of us win. But that is an opportunity only someone like me can get. It's not something that a normal man can get, right? But now, if I were a normal man, how do I collaborate with you from someone who's a different side of the world to try to be united, to try and build each other? How would you do it? Say,
we do it by taking the lead and letting other people do it. Once you see it, you do it and lead others to do it. Reason why I sought leadership was to guide the millions of others to do what I imagine. That's why it all comes back to leadership. The policies that are put in place to re-educate ourselves, and then those ideas we shall share with our immediate neighbors. Imagine if the leadership in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Rwanda, in Sudan, in Congo, the countries that are surrounding Uganda, if we had the same mindset, and the same mindset is taken further and wider to see that all of Africa shares the same mind. And we're not reinventing the wheel. Patrice Lumumba taught us that. Kwame Nkrumah taught us that. The past African leaders have taught us that. They've even written it down. We just need to implement it to ensure that we don't get comfortable in our small enclaves. When you get well as a South African, then you lock out everybody else. That's not how it works. African freedom and African prosperity cannot be isolated of the rest of Africa. When you are peaceful, but the rest of the territories around you are not peaceful, you're not peaceful, you're just pacified. When you are rich and everybody around you is poor, you're just as poor as everybody else. So let's start exporting the goodness to each other, sharing it. But like I said, it begins with leadership, because when leaders take charge, they lead their people. They put the policies in place, the policies that will guide those populations to reconnect, interconnect, and move together.
Although I find your answers a bit vague, I'd have to sit and piece it together, right? And I think another time I'll try to dig into that a little bit more. Now I want to ask, you have a gripe with South Africa in a sense that during apartheid, the whole of Africa was helping South Africa. There's this authoritarian state, and South Africa knows nothing about what happens in Uganda, but the politicians at least do, and they sit back and they're doing nothing. According to you, what is your gripe with that as a whole?
It's betrayal. It's political hypocrisy.
But you first got to tell me how it's betrayal.
Well,
What has Uganda done to say that it's betrayal?
No, we are not saying Uganda in particular. We're saying Africa. And I'll give an example. During the apartheid regime, all of Africa stood and rejected it. South Africa wouldn't have done this alone. It would please Africans if South Africa stood and said the same against authoritarian regimes across Africa. Again, I mean, look at the case of Zimbabwe, its immediate neighbor to South Africa. I think it is only moral to call out what's wrong, to call out misrule. Misrule is not only misrule when it's by a person of a different color. Misrule is misrule even when it's by your own. So if that authoritarian and anti-people leadership is called out by countries that have a voice and that are respected, then it will be controlled. But if it is evidently tolerated by those countries that have actually gone through it, that should know the pain of it and therefore call it out, then
how are they tolerating it? And also with that, please answer, how do you feel about the relationship with the certain South African governments with President Museveni?
Well, my brother, if you were a renowned murderer, and if this show was a show condoning murder and justifying human rights violations, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here on an interview with you. Maybe I wouldn't be legitimizing it. So if there is a regime that carries out extrajudicial executions and takes pride in it, when there is a regime where people are abducted by the chief of defense forces and they're tortured and it is bragged about by those in power, and their naked pictures are put on social media, and tomorrow they're standing shoulder to shoulder with leaders from a democracy, I don't know what we should call that.
What do you want South Africans to do? I think it's disgusting, but what do you want South Africans to do, considering that you explained that they went through it, Africa stood by them?
Well, there are two things. There's what the South African administration can do and South African people can do. The South African administration should, in its right, either call out misrule and oppression of Africans outside South Africa, or at least at the bare minimum, not be seen to legitimize it or be part of it. Now, what we do want the South Africans to do is to treat us as brothers. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of South Africans that got scattered across Africa. Many of them have children and grandchildren here in Tanzania, all over. They were treated with love and hospitality. So that is all that we think other Africans should enjoy. Why would an African feel safer in Europe than on the African soil? So I think that is Ubuntu. I think that is brotherhood. And I must say, I completely understand the pressure that is put on the citizens, on the locals, on the indigenous people of South Africa by the flooding in of refugees, economic refugees, political refugees, and among them, wrong characters are also included, the criminals and all that. But I mean, I think it would only be brotherly, it would only be African for Africans not to be mistreated in an African country.
Bobi Wine. That name is career suicide to some people.
Yeah.
When you walk around, it's like, I'm going to go see Bobi Wine. It's like, ooh, I don't know if I should. Yeah.
Are you sure you want to
Yeah,
make
you
that
sure
guy?
you want to do that? Why is that the case? And I want to add that with a question is that, why was this place where we're sitting as well raided as well? Am I in danger by virtue of sitting next to you too?
Maybe you are, maybe not. And I'm saying because there's so much fear. Not us fearing, but those with guns and bombs fearing people with only mouths. In every dictatorship, people that are deemed courageous to stand up for their rights are seen as a danger and are treated as terrorists. So that's how it is. You know, I'm not any different. I'm just another common Ugandan. Don't be deceived by the suits and ties. I'm just like anybody on the street there.
Does everyone in the Ugandan streets have the heart of Bobi Wine?
Not everybody. Some are stronger. Others are more brave. They are courageous, and I believe not because they have courage, but because they have nothing else to lose.
That's deep. They got nothing else to lose. But then, are you training people to become united in your party?
Training, I won't say training, I'm encouraging them to get united, not just in our political party. I must say this, we were not a political party in the beginning. We actually were not planning to be a political party. We formed a loose political movement called the People Power Movement to encourage people from across the divide, from all political parties to work together. We only became a political party or formed a political party a month or two to elections. Just 2 days ago, we made 5 years as a political party because we were going into elections. So I say it in this phrase that we are not a political party, but we have a political party. Otherwise, what we are is much bigger than a political party. We are a political movement. We are not limited to formalities. Tomorrow we can wake up and this political party is banned. Will it stop us from doing what we're doing? No. Will it cap down the resistance? No. We are the political party is only the elective platform of the people power movement. Otherwise, we have so many Ugandans that don't even know where this office is or the name and aspirations of this political party called the National Unity Platform, but they proudly and strongly and radically and unapologetically belong to the people power movement, which says power belongs to the people. We must remove one leader and put another as the people of Uganda to ensure that henceforth all leaders will be servants to the people and not the other way around.
Not the other way around. You know what? I'm going to give you this. Here in your office right now, you're very accessible. Very, very accessible. Take any leader in any country, they're impossible to reach. They're impossible. And you speak to the people and civilians like everyday people. The only reason why you're wearing a suit and tie, it was because it was a request. Am I correct? Let's do a suit
It was
and tie.
an insistence.
At least I could do that to the president. You're running for presidency right now. I believe we're in the primaries right now. And we're just a couple of months away from re-election. Now, last one, you said you've won the election. You got the votes. The popular votes is yours. You're just not in that seat. How are you going to do it differently this time? Because I'm going to guess you're going to have the popular vote. What makes you think that even though you got the popular vote, you're going to have that seat?
I did not say that because I have the popular vote, I'm going to get into that seat. I'm under no illusion that we are going to defeat General Museveni and we will hand over power peacefully. He has not. He has publicly said a mere paper cannot get him out of power. He has publicly said before that he came in with a gun and will leave with a gun. He has had his son undermine democracy, disrespect the parliament, call them clowns. He has called the judges of the Supreme Court clowns. So we are under no illusion about the state of affairs. But we're doing this because we want to outlive and outfight General Museveni. We know, for starters, that we have the whole vote, and we know that people will vote him out.
But how that vote is useless.
Yes. No, it's not useless.
I mean, it was useless last time. Why is it going to be different now?
I wouldn't say it was useless last time. We did not get where we wanted to get. We are certainly not where we used to be, Even under this dictatorship, this is a hybrid dictatorship that knows that the eyes of the world are looking at them. Probably I'm alive because there's focus on me, and I get that focus and that legitimacy because I'm viewed as an opposition leader in Uganda, although many other countries view me with the legitimacy of a president that won and was never allowed to take the leadership of the country. But not only that, we're going into this election to achieve many other things, because we don't only vote for the president, we vote for leaders from the local council one to the presidency, and we want to overturn we want to remove not only Museveni, but we want to remove his entire system. And it's doable.
I think
in the last election, we were able to kick the vice president out and a few other ministers because the forces continued on concentrated on preserving the presidency. So we want to push, but this time we want to get even more people and more forces involved. For example, in the previous election of 2021, the European Union and United States election observers were not allowed to observe the election. No wonder they can either say less or close an eye to the illegitimacy of this regime. We hope to see that now. We hope to get more people involved now. And when people are fighting back against vote rigging, they should fight for something that they've earned, not something that they are imagining. So when people line up from morning and cast that ballot, they will have the moral and legal right to fight for it. Dictators can and have been defeated at the ballot. Do you remember somebody called Yahya Jammeh in the Gambia? He was a brutal dictator. He was kicked out by the ballot. When it overwhelms them, they have no option. We are dealing with an 80-plus-year-old dictator, a 40-year-old dictatorship that has come to the nerves of even those that sustain it in power. I'm sure we have so many reasonable people in the military forces, in the armed forces, in the police, and even within the regime, that when they see that it's clear and unquestionable, can very easily work with us. But that will only work when people overwhelmingly vote of the regime and stand firm to demand for what's rightfully theirs. They cannot massacre all of us. They can only kill a few.
But the way it looks like it seems that they're going for it. Kidnapping, massacre, poverty, the government seems to be doing that.
They've been doing that for 5 years. They've not stopped us. Why do you think when they do that for a day, 2, a week, 2, a month, why do you think it will stop us?
Oh, but we're coming closer to election. They know to double down.
Well, when they double down, we shall triple down. Yeah.
You become president tomorrow. How do we know that you're going to be a good president, a good leader? How do we know that you're taking that power and you won't end up 40 years in the same place that Museveni is? How can we trust you?
My father told me never trust anybody that says trust me. I'm not any different. I'm a human being, and I'm saying things that dictators have said before going to power. So it's not what I say that matters, but what I do. Even while in the opposition, first we believe in institutionalization. We don't believe in his super daddy. We don't believe in, oh, Bobi, come and save us, and when Bobi's there, everything is good. No, I want to be as accountable as everybody else. So even during our struggle, we are trying to institutionalize and take decisions as an institution and not as an individual. So that's what we want to do. I want to spend the first 1 year of my presidency trying to make sure that I don't stay president forever. Restore institutions, restore the independence of the institutions, the legislature and the judiciary, and then make it about the people. That's very important. So the administrations, the freedoms that people must achieve right there, the empowerment of people must not only be when we get there, but even while we're still getting there. Our biggest tool is to show people that, hey, we're taking back power. You are taking back your power. If it's by the ballot, if we defeat the gun, then the gun has no power over people, then it is the people. Then for the first time, leaders will be worried to mess up with the population because they can remove them just the same way they brought them. And of course, we'll start building a new country, re-educating our people and ensuring that they're healthy. So we look at the
because that's policy,
sector.
and I wanted to ask you about policy. But before I get into policy, I want to understand that your presidency will be 5 years. Would you amend the Constitution to make sure that it's a 5-year term and not a lifelong term?
I wouldn't call it amending the Constitution. I would call it restoring the Constitution. We had a beautiful Constitution before it was messed with. And it's a matter of restoring it and respecting it. Yeah.
Okay. Policies. You're president.
Yeah.
What happens? Give me the first 6 months of your presidency. How can I fly back to Uganda and say, I see it? Will the roads, Nigeria Road, will it be fixed? Would it finally be fixed and not take, like a 30-minute trip for something that should take 5 minutes? Will it be fixed? Will the buildings, the structures be together? And I know 6 months is a short time, and that's so much pressure. But tell me, what would Uganda look like 6 months?
Well, besides the rights and freedoms, besides the first things that must come first, the freedom of all political prisoners, besides the restoration of rights and confidence, the things that are at the bottom of my heart: health, education, and infrastructure. We lose so many women giving birth. 20 women daily is too many to die. 300 children under the age of 5 daily is too many to die. And like I always say, we are not going to, it's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel. Researches have been done. Recommendations have been done. Countries that respected them, like Rwanda, like Kenya, have better healthcare, where our political elite go for healthcare. I mean, we only need to up the budget of our hospitals and health centers, and that money is there. That money is there, only that is being siphoned and misused. For example, General Museveni uses 3 billion of our taxpayers' money. Now, $1 million is 3.7 billion. So he uses 3 billion.
$3 billion
going to shillings.
3 billion shillings.
That's about $800,000 US daily. Now that has to be fundamental.
Hold on. 700,000.
You got that.
To do what?
To be president. He needs money to buy people. He needs money to give around. Everywhere he goes with stack envelopes to give. He needs to buy people because he lost the legitimacy.
But then the question comes back to the one I heard earlier. Is now to you, president tomorrow.
Maybe
you've given billions. It's like you've got access to billions. How do I know that you're not going to beat Museveni?
Exactly. Although you intervened when I was trying to give you an imagination. Now that money is there, that can go to our health care system to ensure that we have free health care. It has never been here. It will be here again. Same thing to education. We have ever had free universal higher education. We can have that because the money is there. Now, you talked about our infrastructure. We have the most terrible roads. I mean, the road that got you from airport, it's called in the Entebbe Expressway. It is the most expensive road on the planet. Yes, you heard me right.
Let's run it back.
The
most expensive road on the planet.
Just go and Google the most expensive road in the world. That is ours there. But you saw how it looks like, What causes that? Corruption. The money that is stolen in Uganda is breathtaking. 1/3 of our budget is lost in corruption. We lose 10 trillion annually in corruption. And the corruption is always traced to the doorstep of the president. So with all that money and corruption dealt with, the money that we lost, that money that we stolen in corruption alone can fix our entire road network of 36 kilometers in just a matter of 3 years. So these things are doable. We want to ensure that electricity reaches every part of Uganda. I mean, we export it to Kenya and other countries. Why don't we electrify the rest of our country? A few years ago, Uganda was ranked the most enterprising country. We are very creative people. You've seen Ugandans, how they prosper even under tough circumstances. Wherever we go in the world, we prosper. So how about conditions being laid here for our people who would develop on a supersonic speed? Yeah.
Military budget. What's going to happen to that?
We're not fighting any war. Of course, our military, and I've said it before, that we need to pay our soldiers, police officers, and prison officers better. They are the worst paid, and yet they are used to commit the worst crimes. They take the curses, and they will be accountable in the future. We want to up their payment.
What about their rehab as well? Rehabilitation? Because, I mean, they've been used to do crime for the government. What are you going to do with their rehabilitation?
Well, that process will come, but let's first deal with their pains. At least they don't give themselves those orders. But let's first address their pain, up their payment, I mean, we have what we call the classified budget that takes most of the money. That is what General Museveni uses to take money out of the national budget for private dealings. We are not fighting any war. So I don't think we should be spending our money to fight. Yes, we should be part of the peacekeeping missions on the continent because we're our brothers keepers. But again, we should look domestically, most importantly. Therefore, the money that is going there, we can keep our military busy by ensuring that they restore. We have a problem with our, climate. We should be planting trees. And I said it in in our previous manifesto that we had a target of planting 5 million trees, and the military was going to do that. That was a good way of connecting the military and the locals in a positive way, other than the population knowing militaries as symbols of oppression and hating the national military uniform. That shouldn't be the case.
My final question to you is, the world not really putting their eyes on Uganda as they should, or if they see it, they do nothing. We spoke about South Africa. Let's talk about the more powerful people. What do you think they should do? How should they intervene in this process, considering that elections is just a few months away?
We are not asking for their intervention, really. As a matter of fact, how I wish they didn't intervene, because that intervention has, in the recent past, been facilitating our oppression. General Museveni in the past few years has been getting up to $1 billion annually. And this is a world-satisfied autocrat, a violator of human rights. And yet, the West, and in particular the US, was not paying attention to that. So we want to relate with the Western world. But it should be business. It should be a relation of equals. It should be collaboration. It should not be hand-picking a farm manager that manages the rest of us and our resources for the benefit of the West.
President Bobi Wine, you're president of NUP.
Yeah.
And you're running for presidency of the country. I have to admit, I like you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I like you a lot. I think you're a good man. I don't understand for the life in me how the hell you get a beating like that. You have many and multiple assassination attempts, and you still come here every day and keep fighting. You live on borrowed time. It blows my mind. Your expression, I can feel the pain. I can feel it. I didn't go through it. I could feel it. I've never been through anywhere close to the kind of pain you went through. That resilience is so commendable. As a Ugandan man and an African man, the people that share your blood or the people that share your nationality look at you and say, wow, that is our hero. And I believe that they're going to become just like you as well. When you become president,
I hear you, and I like the when, not if, because it's a matter of when.
When you become president, let me not be the person that said, I had an interview with him, I endorsed him, now look what he's doing, I'm not appreciating. Let me be the person that said, do you know I actually sat next to him? And look at the great things he's doing. I know that man.
He actually promised to do them.
There you go. Yeah. Because I'm just a guy that's from a different country. Your people are the one that you're going to be leading. Promise me and promise the people that however long it is you want to do your presidency, and God hope not 40 years, serve them with everything that you can. Build those hospitals.
Absolutely.
Not defund the army, but spend a lot less than that. Do not become tyrannical. Be the man that I'm listening you to be. I will try to keep you accountable if you don't respond to my text messages every 3 days.
Thank you. I'll say this, though. Sorry for the interruption. I don't want to promise. I don't believe in promise. I'll just ask the people of Uganda to promise themselves that they will never accept anything less than what I'm promising. I think that's the most important thing. We should bring up a generation that does not rely on leaders, but holds leaders accountable. I've said it before that the countries that develop don't develop just because their leaders are so good-hearted and they're so holy. No, they develop because the populations don't take crap from the leaders. And the leaders know that they are servants. And they are constantly reminded through regular, transparent, free and fair elections. So empowering the people is the solution. Otherwise, there's so much temptation in the trappings of power, man. I might be a good man. I don't know who's going to be surrounding me. So we all have to be reminded that we were able to stand up to a guy that did wrong to people. And therefore, somebody else can stand up to us. That is the only way we are going to align ourselves. Otherwise, I can give you 1 million promises and break them for as long as I am filled with the delusion of untouchability and invisibility. So it is the people to promise themselves that they will never take anything less than what they deserve.
I think I like that. The power is still in the hands of the people.
Absolutely.
Even though that you are their leader. And they should not tolerate any nonsense, even from the president.
Not even from me.
Now, I'm not going to be under the governance of the Ugandan, but I'm also not going to take nonsense from my president.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure that he continues to serve, not only because I like him, but because there's a whole population of Ugandans that are dependent on you. So this is me uniting with you and keeping you accountable.
That's the first step of unity that Africa needs, to know that every other part of Africa is their responsibility and every African is their responsibility. That way, we are going to unite as Africans even before our leaders bring us together. I mean, we have the internet. Something happens here and the internet explodes in Kenya. Something happens in Kenya and the internet explodes in Nigeria. You remember during the anti-SARS protests in Nigeria and the protests in Ghana and even here in Uganda, the young people, the new generation is taking the lead and we should follow them or at least get out of the way when they are taking the lead. So it is not only for the politicians, but anybody and everybody that has a voice can actually lead and influence people. We have the internet, we have TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. Everybody has followers, but where are you leading them to? Let us ensure that everything that we do in our right, we take charge. Everybody is a leader. Things have changed. It's not the traditional and conventional media that communicates to people. People get communication and information from very many unconventional sources. So let's use that as I hate to call myself a politician, but that's where I'm stuck. As the politicians and political leaders are doing what they're doing, that is not enough. And we must not only rely on that. Everybody must do what they have to do, what they can do. And that way we'd get
I wanted to close, but then I have to ask you another question. You said something that hit. There's a lot of people with followers, but where are you leading them to?
Absolutely.
Speaking of those that have followers in Uganda, they don't want to mention your name because of the fear of their own lives. What do you encourage them to do, those influential people, to do or say to lead them the right direction?
Those that are scared of mentioning my name or even feel biased, please don't mention my name. Mention what is right. Because when you demand for what is right, it will also put me and everybody else on spot to do what is right. Don't personalize it. Don't attach me to it. I'm only a human being. You cannot reduce what Uganda or Africa needs to just Bobi Wine. I'm a mortal man with so many weaknesses. So it must not be about me. I might represent it now, but I might slide and fall short of what is required of the country or the continent. So see what is right, advocate for what is right, demand for what is right. Whether it's Bobi Wine that is being oppressed or somebody else, condemn that. Whether it's Bobi Wine or somebody else doing what is right, appreciate that. Ensure that you encourage everybody, including myself, to do what is right. And ensure that you call out everybody and anybody, including me, when they're doing wrong.
I'm going to leave it at that high note. It's a very, very high note, and I'm going to close right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to fly here. We first
My
met in
humble
South
pleasure.
Africa, and now that I'm flying here, thank you for giving me this space to talk to you. And I'm going to have to let the world know that I came here, tried to look for a bad man, and I couldn't find him.
Well, you got me. You want to see the bad man? Throw tear gas at me.
I heard people don't even worry about tear gas anymore. They call it gas because they're so used to the tear gas.
Absolutely. I saw one young man smoking it in Kenya, and I said, okay, the Kenyans are just on another level.
That's a different level.
Yeah.
Now, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I had thought that this was going to be a provocative interview, but
So I did a bad job.
You ended up just giving me the opportunity to say what I'd hoped to say, and I must appreciate you. Thank you very much, and thank you for traveling all the way just to hear our views. It's my humble hope that one day you're going to interview me in the presidential seat.
Hope.
Inshallah.
Hope. I'm going to do it. Consider it done. Thank you so much.
We are the generation. Cheers, man.
Thank you so
very
much,
much
man.
for
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, you heard the man, the president of the people. He says the power should go back to you, not the leaders. He's just there to guide the way. You've heard his story. I was convicted by it. I like the man, but now it's turning into bias. What do you think? Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Be respectful in the comment, but if you feel like I didn't challenge him enough, please say it again. I'm happy to fly back here and talk to him. But the thing is, the reason why I didn't push so much, it's not because I fear him or anything. No, it's not the case. I really needed to listen to what he had to say. That's why I didn't do too much pushback as I usually do. But make no mistake, it's going to happen with a lot of pushback next time. But until next time, it's peace out.
Peace out.